That's fine.
Can you- let me do this, let us go back and give you an estimate of 5 people going to DC, and then give you that number, so you can have it at the next meeting, if that's okay, and that way, that'll give us a chance to adjust.
We're voting on it today, right?
Well, we're voting on the tax
You're
rate
voting on the
today.
tax, yeah.
Tax rate.
Oh, I
There's
think
still-
you wanted to increase it 3 cents, 4 cents, no?
Yeah. Well, no, because we're gonna vote on the tax
joking.
rate, which will.
I was off the record. Nah,
It's
And you got
recorded.
it. Can't go back, can't go back. But anyway, so really, there is, again, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got some flexibility to move some things around, but what we're voting on today is the tax
Thank you.
rate.
Okay.
And so that amount, and again, the tax base is about, I mean, the tax is about 30% of our budget. Most comes from utilities, the other comes from sales tax, and the rest. This that we're talking about is about probably 25% of our budget, about 2.5 million. Interest payments and operating, M&O. Is that right?
Yep, pretty
Okay.
close.
All right, so council, with that, we got a consent item, we're gonna blow through that, and then I'm gonna ask you to do some adjustments in our line items. So, we've got an approval of the minutes for July 9th, July 23rd, and July 30th. I want a motion and a second for all three of those.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Leal, second by Councilwoman R. Garza. Is there any questions?
no.
Should not be. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Got that. Now, council, we've got the proposal 9F and 9G, and I'm gonna ask with a motion and a second
Motion.
to move those up to the front, and we'll go through those. So I have a motion by
Motion.
Councilman
Second.
Leal, a second by Councilwoman Trevino. Is there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Council, we're gonna go to item 9F. Discuss and consider authorizing city manager to award, enter into, and execute agreements with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mutual Omaha for medical, dental, vision, and other ancillary insurance benefits for 24-25 fiscal year. This is an action item. I'm gonna ask for a motion in a second. We got a motion by Councilwoman R. Garza. I got a second by Councilwoman A. Garza. At this point, I will call for questions. Any questions, council? Hearing none, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Council, going on to item 9G, discuss and consider resolution number 2024801 to propose an ad valorem tax rate of 0.86624 for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and establishing September 3rd,
Motion.
2024 respectively as the public hearing
Second.
date for the proposed tax rate, bear with me, for the city of Pearsall for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem
Second.
Leal. I got a second by Councilwoman R. Garza. Is there any questions?
None.
Hearing none from the council, I'll go for a motion, go for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Fred looks scared. Let's go.
No, Fred looks really happy.
Y'all are voting, but
All right, I asked for questions. There were-
Is, what you're voting, and what'll be posted in the paper is what is on page, what is that, Chris?
Yeah, and we have, this is a line item vote, right?
Right here.
That will be
Once
posted,
again.
and so you'll be notice of public hearing on tax increase. That will be in the paper, so I just wanna make sure that you're aware of that. That's what you will be voting on tonight.
Can we
Okay.
get the roll call vote real quick?
Yes, this is a
It does
roll
require
call
them.
vote, and as you know, I only vote in the case of a tie, but I like the citizens to know how I feel. So,
Again,
you know, my vote doesn't count.
The proposed tax rate is the same as last year.
Correct. So there's no increase.
So there is no tax rate on it, but again, because of your values, you're generating more revenue. The revenue, so you go down,
So the tax rate didn't increase, but the value of property
The
went up.
base, yeah, the base,
Right.
and it's like,
so if you look at this here, there's average homestead, that's what it shows, that's what was proposed last year. The average homestead is 72 last year, 73,000. Your average bill for homestead is 7625, will go up to 634 on a property, and then that is the total levy for the year. So, make sure you.
Tax rate stayed the same.
okay, all right, we're ready for a roll call vote. Council, we ready? City Secretary,
Mayor Pro Tem James Leal.
in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Aren't you gonna ask me?
Ben T. Briscoe.
Yes, I'm in
Mayor.
favor.
James Leal.
4.
Ramiro Trevino,
4.
Sonia Hernandez,
4.
Tiffany Talamantes,
4.
Rachel Garza,
4.
Aurora Garza,
4.
and Brenda Trevino.
4.
All right, thank you, council, very much. SWBC, you guys are welcome to stay, or
I think we're good.
you can move on. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Council, we're gonna go on to item 9A. These are all action items. Discuss and consider an act on the preliminary plat of the Trevino Living Trust, Petra G. Trevino trustee, establishing a 1.571 acres out of subdivision number 1, Pablo Survey 1411, so on and so forth. This is an action item. I'm gonna call for a motion in a second. Motion by council.
Second.
By Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilwoman A. Garza.
No.
Councilwoman Brenda Trevino. Okay, thank you very much. With this, Fred, you have the floor.
Oh, turn it over to Ms. Brown.
Assistant City Manager, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, you have before you a plat for, this is a 1.57 acre tract. The trust, the Trevino Trust is proposing to develop this into 5 lots. The purpose of this is currently, these lots have structures on them. Some of these were purchased back in the 1990s through what we call either a rental agreement or what is known as a contract for deed, but those lots were never subdivided in accordance with the state statute and our ordinance. And so some of these property owners have since paid. Therefore, now they're requesting their deed to the property. So the applicant has submitted a preliminary plat. There is some, our YPR, our city engineer, has reviewed the preliminary plat and has submitted his letter with the comments. The preliminary plat was presented in a special meeting to the planning and zoning. They are recommending approval of the preliminary plat, subject to the requirements of the YPR comments.
And what exactly, are they trying to put trailers on this?
They already have existing
So it's
structures.
just-
So back in the 1990s, the trust, or Mr. Trevino, I believe, back then, and I'm just paraphrasing, Mrs. Greenwald, who is the applicant. These lots were sold under contract for deeds, but they were not subdivided through a platting process. And so now that some of these property owners have paid and met their obligation under that contract, they are, so this is a prime example of why you'll see some of these things happening, like on Nolan Drive and others, where you have these mobile homes and they're all under one big tract of land. And so Mrs. Greenwald is doing the right thing, going through the planning process. We want to make sure that, so this is the preliminary plat. YPR has reviewed it and has made their comments. P&Z is recommending approval, subject to them bringing back the final plat with those recommendations.
Okay, council, we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? Assistant Manager, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 9B, discuss and consider the rezoning of the property for the Williams, described there from it is in R1, and they want to go to a C1. I'll ask for a motion in a second. Motion by Councilwoman R. Garza, second by Councilwoman Trevino. Assistant City Manager, you have the floor.
Yes, Mayor, council members, you have the rezoning request. Notifications were sent out, 9 notices were sent out. We did not, I'm sorry, 6 notices were sent out. You have your packet before you and you'll see those 6 notices that went out. We did not receive any opposition to the rezoning. The rezoning application was submitted for consideration and recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission at a special meeting, yesterday. And the reason we had special meeting was because last week on the regularly scheduled meeting, there was no quorum, so I called for a special meeting yesterday. We did have the quorum.
Where's, this property? Is it,
This is the house, it's, Chris, I don't know if you
Right here,
can do
right now.
it. It's the house
Yeah.
right here where the vacant
The
field
brick
is.
house,
There's a
Corner to
pink
the
brick
oh,
house,
the admin is.
Caddy corner from the courthouse.
catty corner from the courthouse. It is a residence. I will tell you that the recommendation from the planning and zoning was, to table this item. And the reason for that recommendation, is to allow staff to communicate, the P and Z's concerns to the property owner regarding the requirements for commercial use. So basically what their concern is, when I spoke to Mr. Williams, prior to submitting his application for zoning, one of his main questions was, if I change it to a C1, can I, if for whatever reason, that C1, which is mostly professional office use, if I cannot, lease it out as a commercial or office space, can I revert it back to an R1? The answer is yes. Under a C1, under our Table A ordinance, which is our zoning ordinance, C1 does allow for R1s and R2s. Now, the question arises is, if you change that use from what it currently is, you are possibly looking at replatting that lot, because now commercial classification kicks in. You will have to meet the building codes in accordance to commercial use. You will have to have parking spaces allocated. ADA accessibility will kick in, and they were concerned that, they wanted Mr. Williams to know that if that was the direction he was going, these are some of the costs that he will be looking
So
at.
then it's best to table it and let them relay that.
With that being said, Mayor,
Okay.
with that being said, may I ask the council to reconsider their motion?
No, but I can.
Okay, oh, yeah, can you ask them to reconsider?
Council, we have a motion by, Councilwoman R. Garza and a second by Councilman, Ray Trevino, Ram Trevino, to adjust your motion, your second to table this item. Is that,
Yes,
okay
sir.
with both of y'all?
Yes.
We do have a motion to table item 9B. Is there, any other questions?
If I may, I'd like to just comment that I did speak with Mr. Williams today, and went over the concerns, and, he says he understands that, but he would like to move forward, because what he's looking at is, there's an if. He understands that he may or may not be able to lease that, property as commercial, so he would leave it as a residential, but he would like to still have that option as a C1. I just wanted to let y'all know that I did speak with him.
All right,
And it is a little confusing,
okay,
but
so you've communicated with the landowner, and the landowner says he understands those risks, and he's willing to accept that. And he may have to change some items in there, may have to adjust to ADA requirements, but then, he may have to do that, but still only rent it out for residential. You
Yeah.
understand?
Mayor,
because there's an if, from what I understand from him is, there's an if that it would even possibly rent as a professional office, so in the meantime, he continue
So-
renting it as a residential property.
Mayor, would it be our friend or,
The guy that just left, the guy that just left probably gave us the best answer, but I'll let you go. I think I know what you're gonna ask me.
would it be best for us to, get something in documentation that he understands? That way, if he comes back and says, well, I didn't really understand this or that or that.
I
Well,
think,
he already put it on there. so-
without being an attorney, I would say that legally speaking, he bears the responsibility. Again, you're addressing zoning tonight. You're addressing zoning which affects the use, right? So what Bobby, my assumption is Bobby will tell you is, if you change this to C1, he ultimately, whether he wants to or not, he's responsible to know that he's taking on all these responsibilities of new building code, parking spaces, but again,
And you
the
told him all
city
of that,
attorney
you
is.
just told him all that.
city
I,
attorney-
and I did, draft an email for him with, our conversation and my understanding that we have discussed this. We also discussed, he goes, so he asked, he posed the question, okay, so I rent it out as a residential. I've got a tenant who's living there, but that tenant decides to operate a business out of his home. I said, that tenant would be responsible for complying with our conditional use permits to operate a business out of that. But of course, the tenant's gonna say, well, I don't own this property. He goes, I understand that, so I will put it in my lease that he cannot operate a business in a residential, rental home. So we did discuss that as well.
So,
Okay, so council, what's on the table right now is, what's on the floor is to be tabled, that's where we are now, so council, Pro, Mayor, you have a
no,
question?
so, once if we change it for the,
R1 to a C1,
yes, if we change it to a C1, no matter who moves in there, he has to comply with commercial.
Operates a business out of there. Yes.
No matter what, he has to
Yes.
comply.
yes, sir. Because if it's rented again,
No, whether it's rented as residential or not, he has to comply once we change it to a C1, correct?
we can't, no.
What she's saying is that, again, it's all based on the use. Meaning, if
That's
he's
where I was
gonna-
going.
If he's gonna have a business there, then yes, all rules apply as it relates to a commercial
Commercial.
business. So you have building permits, building codes, but if he's gonna say, I want it as a C1, but I'm still gonna have it as a residence, it's just a residence, like just similar to your home, it's still, so the use doesn't change. So it's a little complicated, but that's what he's doing, but to me, some of the things he tries to, that are being thrown out there, what if I do this, what if I do that? Well, then again, part of it all comes back down to, as I'm sure the city attorney could probably allude to, is what the use is, what are you using that property for? And if you're using it for business, then you have to have business regulations.
I just feel that we're gonna run into some obstacles there where someone's gonna be running a business in there, and it's gonna be like, well, it's a resident, but I'm doing this
Well,
and
no,
that.
that's why we're gonna do it as a thing, so that if they do, they're gonna have to comply with it, that's what he's saying.
The challenge he's gonna run into, this is my assumption, and based on the little that I know about this property, is parking. Because we don't know the dimensions, I don't know the dimensions of the property, right? And then the other one is gonna be, the other part is gonna be probably the ADA requirements. So those will be there'll be other challenges, I'm sure, but those will be the two that I can think of that'll be.
Now, do y'all, does the city see with what we have knowledge of this property, is it even capable of being in compliance? With the parking, with the-
Setbacks, I don't know.
So-
Do they have enough land
It-
to create parking?
So it depends on what we call the use, under our zoning law. If he's gonna use it, let's say for a law office or a dental office, then we look up that classification and then it will tell us based on the size, the number of parking spaces he's gonna need. And that's where he would need to comply with that. Then how many parking spaces he has to designate for ADA handicap accessibility. Then we look at the interior and, what are you gonna use it for? Are you gonna do some modifications? Those fall under the commercial building code, not under IRC, which is our residential code. So we have the IBC code, which is mostly the commercial, and then you have a code that we use for residential. So if he's gonna change that classification, if he decides, oh, I was able to find a tenant that wants to open a law office because it's near the courthouse, then we're treating it as a commercial use, and that's where all the requirements under our building codes, our TDLR, which is our handicap accessibility, parking lot, the way it's gonna have to be paid, all of those requirements, they will have to follow.
Take what you can do, James, if council, if you guys want to do this, is maybe ask for some sort of a site plan, if he has something before, and again, maybe show you where the parking's gonna go. There's some of these things that you may have questions on. I know that they're good questions, but at this point, we really don't know whether he's gonna meet these requirements, because we don't know what he's gonna do other than he wants to put a business.
Ultimately, if it's gone into a commercial, that's gonna be their prerogative, they're gonna have to meet the requirements. So whether it's a residence or not commercial, might as well do commercial, and if they go and do something, that's gonna be on them. So
Correct.
versus them coming back.
And I mean, he's a smart guy, I'm sure he does.
Might as well go on
He,
water.
and what I gathered from him is that I think he weighed the fact that, I'm gonna lean more towards renting it as a residence.
He just wants to be safe
Yeah,
and sorry.
yeah, in case he ever has a
Yes.
potential tenant that wants to open a law office or a dental office or a title company.
It's right there by Grady Roberts Road, you know, it's got all those offices over there. Okay, so what's on the